All right, time now 7:30 on the dot. In today's You Decide Arizona, we are getting straight to the issues that matter to your wallet, your home, and your community. So Governor Hobbs, Lieutenant Governor candidate John Giles joined us in studio this morning. Nice to see you both. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Take us through the process. What was that like, Governor Hobbs, to say, okay, these are the short list of the people that I'm looking at, and what made John Giles so attractive? We know what his wife thinks, but what made him attractive as a political candidate?
So it was always a priority for me to have someone who shared my approach to governing, and I've always focused on putting politics aside and putting Arizonans first. We have so many challenges that we need to tackle that really are not Democratic or Republican issues, they're Arizona issues, and we've had a lot of success by taking that approach of focusing on the issues and not the politics. And I've known John for a long time. I've worked with him as mayor, and I know that he shares that approach and that we both share the belief, even though we're from different political parties, that that leadership is about bringing people together to deliver for the people that we represent. And I really think this election is a choice between leadership that puts Arizona first, which we are always going to do, and someone who is one of the most extreme politicians in the entire country and is always going to put that partisan agenda ahead of Arizonans.
Mr. Giles, I wanted to ask you about what was that like to get that phone call? Obviously, you were the mayor of Mesa from 2014 till 2025, and you get this phone call from the governor. What was your first reaction?
Well, I was very excited, frankly. I think you can tell Katie Hobbs is passionate about her job. She's motivated to do it because she loves the state. She wants to make this a better place. And I have to confess, I loved being the mayor of my hometown for 10 years. For 10 years, I went to bed every night with a smile on my face. Not because of the trappings of being an elected official, but just because, like Governor Hobbs, I am passionate about trying to address the problems that we have, trying to deliver results, trying to tackle problems. And so having the opportunity to be in a position to be impactful in that positive way again is very, very exciting for me.
You know, quick question. You mentioned that you have obviously John Giles on the ticket now from a different political party. And some people are saying, why not a Democrat that you would pull on your ticket? What was the thought process behind pulling somebody from another party?
I think that it really was about delivering for the people that we represent. And I've worked with John when he was mayor of Mesa, and I know that he's someone who's always going to put Arizonans ahead of political party, just like how I've tried to govern as well.
Mayor Giles, you were a Republican. You are now an independent. And so obviously Congressman Andy Biggs has brought this up, and I just want to read a statement and then get kind of your thoughts on this. Sure. He says, as Kamala Harris's favorite Arizona mayor, Giles is aligned with Hobbs on all the issues that have hurt Arizonans the most over the past 4 years, from being quote unquote impressed with the Biden border policy, to supporting the out of control federal COVID spending, which led to record inflation.
Sure. Well, not at all surprising that Andy Biggs would focus on partisan politics, because that's Andy's that's the lens through which he sees everything. And this is the alternative. I think we are here saying we're not going to look at things through a partisan lens. We're here to solve problems. We're here to deliver results. We're not going to talk about, national, try to hijack a national extreme political agenda and force it down the throats of people in Arizona. We have our own problems, and they're problems that can be, they're in the middle of the spectrum. And people like Katie Hobbs and John Giles are focused on solving those problems rather than bringing this extreme partisan dogfight to Arizona, and that just gets in the way of us making progress.
Okay, so let's get in a couple of these issues that you mentioned. Let's talk about Arizonans dealing with inflation, high grocery prices, gas prices. We know these are national issues. What can we do here in Arizona that can help Arizonans right now?
Well, I want to say Andy Biggs, every time he's had a chance to vote against these Washington policies that are increasing costs for Arizonans every single day, he's done exactly the opposite. He's supported the tariffs and gone so far as to say there's no inflation and the tariffs seem to be working. He's voted in support of them. He's voted to support the Iran war. It's making gas more expensive, but that's making everything more expensive because most of us get things delivered to us whether it's at the store or our homes, in gas vehicles. And so and energy costs are going up, everything because of Washington's policies that Andy Biggs has continued to support. So I've done everything I can to lower costs for Arizonans. Every year I've been governor, we've lowered taxes, including a $1.4 billion tax cut this year that's putting more money back into Arizonans' pockets. No taxes on tips and overtime, an increased tax credit for seniors. We've also addressed housing, working to make housing more affordable, and Arizona has led the way on housing, new housing building. In 2024, Maricopa County led the nation. Last year, Phoenix was at the top in home building. And so we're making some progress. We've also eliminated the rental tax. So renting is more affordable for Arizonans. I know there's a lot more to do, and we're working on that. But Andy Biggs is continuing to support an agenda that is making costs higher every day for Arizonans.
I want to talk about some of the other big issues that are affecting us here in Arizona. Of course, water being one of the big ones. This has kind of been a big platform for you. We see this, and we just saw one of your campaign ads running talking about water. What are you going to be doing if you get elected for another 4 years here in our state?
So the biggest issue right now is around Colorado River, and we're waiting for the federal government to publish the framework that we'll be operating under for the next few years. And their original proposal had Arizona taking drastic cuts that would put us in a really dire situation. And so we got to work and worked with the other lower basin states to put forward a proposal that shares those cuts among the lower basin and puts Arizona in a stronger position. I'm going to continue fighting for our fair share of Colorado River water, but we've also taken a lot of action around groundwater, both in our rural and urban areas. We've stopped out-of-state corporations from pumping groundwater unchecked, most notably Fondamonte, and we've given some rural communities more control over their groundwater. We need to do more. We have a framework that I'm going to continue to work to get passed into law, and we've passed legislation that's helping us build more homes and save water on land that used to be agricultural and isn't being used for that anymore.
So speaking of water, I want to, maybe John, you can mention this. You did a lot for business in the city of Mesa over your term there, many years there as mayor. When it comes to water, I think a big concern is with these data centers. How do we welcome some of these big businesses, as we've done all across the valley and the state, in fact, while maybe having them take part in the cost of doing business in Arizona? And what are your thoughts on the water that these data centers are using?
Well, absolutely. As mayor, I was presented multiple times with large, top Fortune 5 companies coming saying, hey, we'll invest billions of dollars in your city if you can deliver electricity and water. So that's not a bad thing. We want new jobs. We want technology. We want to see growth, but not at the cost of sacrificing the quality of life of the people that live here. So absolutely, growth needs to pay for itself. Thankfully, the technology is getting better, so water is becoming less and less of a priority for these advanced manufacturing cooling centers. But absolutely, it's a priority, but we have to make sure, not to make what's most important suffer for the bright and shiny thing of attracting a new business to our community.
We've got so many questions, and we're only running out of time here, but Governor Hobbs, I did want to ask you this because there's been a lot of chatter online about you not debating Congressman Biggs. You also did not debate Kari Lake in the last election cycle. Why did you choose not to do that?
I think that face-to-face interactions with real Arizonans is so much more effective than a stage that is designed for sound bites and political theater. I will also note that Andy Biggs is a notable debate dodger. He multiple times running for Congress didn't debate his opponents, skipped out on multiple forums across the state this last primary election. He also is refusing to take really tough questions from reporters, and I've had more than 100 open press events across the state just this year, and I'm going to continue going across the state, talking to Arizonans, talking to press around the state, and making sure that that we're answering those tough questions and hearing directly from Arizonans.
All right, Governor Hobbs, John Giles, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it. And as we go to Anita, by the way, we do have a full interview with Andy Biggs and Sine Kerr on our website, fox10phoenix.com/links.